All right, it's another internet evangelism video. This time I'm talking to the gentleman you can see in the background here. He's an atheist on TikTok. And basically what I'm going to do here, we'll jump into it right away, but what I'm going to do is just present him with a series of thoughts, questions, kind of foundational questions again, like I've done before, just to see what kind of answers he's going to give. And if you've been following the series, then it's not going to be any surprise. I think what'll be most important to pay attention to, though, is how does he have an answer to these things? And if not, why not? What is atheism if there is no answer? What is the point of it? If you're not going to build a coherent worldview other than just denial of someone else's worldview, then what's the point of your own? And you can see something similar in the comments too. You should follow along with those while you're listening. Just notice how often they're missing the point, or it's just kind of cynicism or snarkiness about what I'm trying to do instead of actually addressing the point. But anyway, without further ado, we'll jump in. By the way, apologies for the audio. I wasn't using my usual microphone, so it's a little bit distorted. Just bear with it.
All right, Buzz. How's it going, Buzz? Are you at least 18? And did you disagree with what I had on the board?
Oh, yeah, I'm old. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. Hey, sorry, I just got a weird microphone, so I want to make sure it's working. Yeah, I'm old enough. And I want to talk about you had faith and belief in God on the board?
Yeah.
Can I ask, it seems like you take kind of a evidentialist, like atheist position. Is that a pretty fair assessment of what your position is on atheism?
That is a fair assessment.
Okay. There was a question, and maybe, I don't know, this is kind of why I rejected personally. I was curious what you think about this, but there was a question when I was younger that used to kind of like bother me a lot. It was this idea of like, why does anything exist rather than nothing at all? And the only way I could think to resolve that question, because even like the idea of nothingness, like kind of just cooked my noodles. So the only thing I could think was that there's got to be something kind of at the bottom of reality that is necessary, that exists necessarily, right? Does that seem reasonable to you or no?
I mean, why? Why would we believe that?
Well, it wouldn't be possible for nothing to exist at all, right?
Right. Nothing is just kind of, it's not a thing. No, nothing has to, like, things have to exist, right? There's no such thing as nothing. But when we say exist necessarily, I'm not sure what that means. But what I would also say is the thing that I can only say that necessarily has to exist is space-time. That's really it.
That's interesting. To me, that kind of, I agree with you that like something in a sense must exist. But that kind of gets to the next part of the question. The reason why I asked that is like, if we look around us at the universe, whether it's space, time, matter, whatever, there doesn't seem to be anything necessary about it. Like, I don't see any reason it couldn't have been either a different way or something else entirely that we can't even imagine. Yeah. Does that seem fair then too, or not?
Yeah.
All right. So if that's the case, then either it seems like we only have two options then. Like either it was possible for, let me put this a different way. Actually, I was going to say the wrong thing. Either everything exists or there's a reason only what we see exists, right?
Either everything exists or there's a reason why only what we see exists. I guess, yeah, that could be true. The only thing that I would say about that is that the reason doesn't necessarily need to be supernatural.
Well, I don't want to jump ahead yet. I'm not necessarily saying like trying to trap you into like, oh, you gotta agree there's supernatural or God exists yet. Just I just want to agree on like a kind of a baseline of what you and I would see about reality.
Yeah, sure. But like I said, the only real thing that I see has to exist necessarily is space-time, because we're taking up space and time right now, so that has to exist for it to exist.
It's, to me, that kind of assumes the thing in question, though. It's like, because this exists, therefore it must exist. But that's kind of what we're wondering. It's like, why does it exist? And if we just say, well, it exists because it exists, I don't know if that really answers the question. You know what I mean?
Oh, so why does space-time exist? I don't know. I don't think anyone.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's what I was just trying to get to. Is like, theoretically, anything was possible, right? Like, if we don't assume anything about reality, it turned out the way it did, but it could have turned out some other way, right? Like reality could have been something else entirely, maybe even something we can't imagine, right?
Yeah. Reality could have been the Game of Thrones universe, but it's not. So I mean, I'm kind of, excuse me, I'm kind of wondering where what we're getting to here, because yeah, I would say the only thing that because space time is a thing, and because we take up space and take up time, and it's necessary for us to exist, that's really the only thing that's necessarily exists. That's what I would say. But anything else other than that, we have to say, oh, this necessarily exists. I would have to ask why, and how do we show that it actually does in the first place?
All right, well, I guess let me cut to the chase then, because I don't want to waste your time. I'm not trying to like beat around the bush or anything, but I think it's reasonable, based on what we said, to establish that at the ground of reality, there's something necessary about existence. And also, it's not, well, maybe this would be more the controversial point, but just for a moment, let's say it's also reasonable to say that our reality could have been some other way. Mm-hmm. If that's the case, then in addition to there being something necessary, there's also something that's able to make a choice between those things. Because it seems like the only alternative to me is...
That's the leap. That's the leap that you're making, that's not evidence. Even if we say that there are things that exist necessarily, to say that for existence to happen, something had to deliberately will it to existence, that's a leap that there's no justification for it.
Well, let me present a couple of choices, and I want to see if you have an alternative to this. If we could assume it turned out the way it did because there's something that just generates every possibility, like something like a multiverse or something. That's not an exact parallel, but something like that just spits out realities, and by coincidence, one of them was ours. But it was inevitable because it does everything, right? Mm-hmm. Or the other alternative is something constrained the choice down to only what exists. Is that a fair thing, or do you think there's a third option?
There could be multiple options. I just don't know them. Like we just have what we have right now, and we just need to know if it's the only thing we're discussing is if it's something supernatural or deliberately willed it into existence. And since we don't have any type of evidentiary basis for any of those, what do we talk about?
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to reason from what we see. Let me make a weaker claim, because I don't want to make you feel like you're getting boxed in or something. That's not really the intent of my questions, but would you at least agree that it's like, given that we see what we see, and that theoretically it could have been a different way, like it's reasonable to say that there was a reason that it exists? Like all that exists is reality as we know it, and there's a reason it exists the way it exists. Is that at least fair enough, or is that too strong still?
That's fair enough, yeah, because I agree with that. There's a reason why we have what we have. There's reasons for it.
Yeah. Okay. So would you agree? I kind of just want to test the waters now. Would you agree that that's at least like kind of evidence for God? Like not conclusive, but like we're getting closer to something that might be more likely if God existed, or no?
No, because the reason, like I said, the reason doesn't have to be supernatural. Because like rain happens, right? But the reason why rain happens is not supernatural. It's basically physics acting upon chemistry. That's really what it is. That's why rain happens. It's not anything deliberately made. So I don't see why the universe would need to have the same thing. It could be a completely natural process that we just don't understand yet.
Okay. Yeah, I struggle with that a little bit, just because if we're talking about reality, then we're talking about everything natural, you know what I mean? So that would be like saying something in the universe explains why the universe is the way it is, but I don't know, that kind of thing.
Because I don't know what outside the universe would even be. Because outside of space and time is basically not part of reality anymore. So we don't know what made the Big Bang do what it does, right? But for me, it could just be a natural process that we don't know about yet. Just like, you know, how lightning was a natural process that our ancestors didn't know about yet.
Okay. I don't want to beat that point too hard, I guess. Maybe I can move on to my next one. It's kind of in line with that one, and maybe that'll help highlight what I'm kind of getting at here too. It's not just that the universe exists the way it is, but that there seems to be something even intentional just in what we can see in terms of the universe is like layers of a hierarchy of order. So we have fields, the fields become particles, particles coalesce into atoms, atoms become molecules, and so on. And everything builds up, and it's like layer after layer after layer of order that all emerges from lower layers. So now to me, this brings us a little bit closer, because if everything just was happenstance, why would it happen to align so perfectly through, I mean, from basically below microscopic all the way up to the level of like galaxies and everything. Does that make sense? Or
I think I see where you're getting at, but still at that point, I don't think we should assume anything supernatural. Is just that just happens the way that it happens. If we want to go into why does it happen the way that it happens, I'm not sure if we'll ever find out. No clue. You know what I mean? But from what I understand, you know, our biology is basically, you know, chemistry, and our chemistry is basically physics, and physics is because of quantum mechanics. And why does quantum mechanics does what it does? No clue. No one knows yet. But I don't think at that point, because we don't know, we have to assume something supernatural.
well, to me, it's just about probabilities, right? Like, what do they call that? Like the inference to the best explanation. Like, what now at this point is the best explanation of everything we see? Would it make more sense that there's an intention behind reality? I'm trying to make a modest claim here. I'm not saying like God and also the Bible and everything's all true, but maybe there's something that necessarily exists at the bottom of reality, which is capable of making intentional choices, and that better explains that it was just random happenstance by coincidence. Everything just happens to line up. It seems to me now we're starting to strain credibility if we're just gonna say it was a coincidence.
I mean, it doesn't really strain credibility, because it's just like how I was saying about rain. Rain was literally just a coincidence. It wasn't Zeus, you know. So why does reality itself have to be something, you know, ghostly or supernatural, and not just a natural process that we don't understand? Maybe in 30,000 years we'll understand it. We just don't know, you know.
Yeah, maybe. I guess I'd like to kind of just stick to what we know, though. I think this is categorically different too, because rain has a finite set of inputs, right? But they're all natural inputs. They're things that we could study. It's just a matter of whether or not we're going to do it, or if we have the capability of doing it.
Right. No.
But what you and I are talking about are like abstract, transcendental ideas about reality itself.
I'm actually saying the same thing. Like, reality itself could be exactly that. Like what we talk about rain, just physical inputs, and we just don't know what those inputs are.
Okay. Yeah. I did have a pushback on that, but I think maybe if we keep going around on that, we might end up going in circles. Here's one last thing I want to bring up on this topic, just to kind of push on this a little bit further, see what you think. To me, the final thing, and this is what honestly makes it impossible for me to really consider atheism, is the existence of life. And the reason being is that life is not like anything else in the universe. Like, if you consider what things nature does, nature is able to make things. It can even bring complexity out of chaos. But what it can't do is something that life has that's extremely, I guess, special, for lack of a better word, is life has, at the base of it, it has a highly complex and specific code-like language. And we never, anywhere else in the universe, no matter where we look, even in principle, do we see nature creating highly complex and specific code-like languages. And so to me, that suggests then that it's simply, life can't be a natural process.
All right, give me a second.
So what do you think about that?
Hey guys, is my microphone better now? Because I turned it up on the TikTok. From what I'm hearing in my monitor, it seems pretty loud. I'm in the red in my mixer. So y'all let me know if my mic is quiet. Maybe I was just being too quiet. Is a little better? I'm not sure why that is, guys. Like my mic is like on 450% right now, and my I'm in the red. I'm on my mixer, so I don't want to shout into the mic to hit you guys up. But all right, y'all. I have 2 calls on the call line. I do appreciate you. I'm gonna go ahead and get to the callers soon. We had a whole bunch before. I do apologize I couldn't get to all the ones before, but we got 2 more calls, and I have 1 more minute with Buzz, and I'm gonna get to the calls. All right, so buzzing. So when you say that nature has a code language, are you talking about DNA? Because when it comes to DNA, there are like natural reasons for that, right? The thing is, when it comes to DNA, it's not really a language onto itself. It's basically our human beings for us to explain it. These are the conventions that we come up with. You know, we just say DNA code and et cetera, et cetera. But when it comes to DNA, it's not really surprising, because, you know, like life happened on Earth, and everything is related to everything else. Like we're related to bananas. You know what I mean? So everything's related to everything else. So it's not really surprising that, you know, DNA would be some sort of kind of a language, but it's really us imposing what we see onto DNA. You know what I'm saying? It's not really, it's something that's on like ethereal onto itself, if that makes sense. I know that's not a good explanation, but it's not anything that's that nature itself is showing. It's what, when we say code and DNA, that's a human convention. That's like DNA itself isn't telling it's a language. Yeah, you see what I mean?
Yeah, and I know we're short on time, so I hope we don't get hung up on this too much. But I really do think it is a valid analogy, because it has letters like in an alphabet. The letter combinations are arbitrary. They could be in any number of combinations, just like letters. You can put them in any order, but only certain orders of them actually carry meaning, in the sense that they'll create proteins or enzymes, things like that. Not to get too technical, but
right. But that's what
it shares a lot in common with language.
Right, but Buzz, that's what we made up. Yeah, I mean, we're the ones who put those letters onto DNA. Like DNA didn't, like we didn't look into DNA and we saw the letter we saw the letter L. Yeah, I mean, that's not what happened. We just said, okay, these sequences, we'll put A, B, C, D on it. But they didn't look into DNA and saw the letter A. That's not what happened, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that, but you could say the same thing about a written language. I mean, it's like little globs of ink on whatever, and it only means something when your brain looks at it. It's kind of the same thing with DNA.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we can impose onto it, but
it's like we impose something that we made up onto DNA.
Yeah, but the problem is that it actually does function like a language, so it can be interpreted. Like our cells actually have interpretation machinery in them to read that and turn it into something useful. So it really does function like language. I guess
we impose it onto DNA. So Buzzy, I do got to move on. I appreciate you though. We are out of time. I appreciate you though. All right.
Yeah, good chat. Take it easy.
I know if any pre-suppers are watching this, they're probably ripping their hair out by the end of that. And I get it. Evidentialism definitely is not going to change that guy's mind. I totally understand. The temptation is there for me to start doing presuppositionalism. The reason I didn't want to do that is I wanted his guard to be down. And when you start questioning someone's epistemology, they're definitely going to put their guard up. They're going to put up walls because they're going to feel like you're trying to back them into a corner, which maybe is totally fine, but whatever. I just wanted this to be a casual conversation with this guy, and that's what it was. I enjoyed talking to him. And, you know, with that in mind, I don't want to sound like I'm ragging on him, but if we're being fair with what he said, like, how would you summarize this guy's worldview? His worldview, if I could summarize it in like one sentence, is like, I don't know, I just know it wasn't God. It's like, okay, there's no worldview there. That's not coherent. It's bordering on like intellectual nihilism. Like, we don't know, we can't know, there's nothing to know. It doesn't matter as long as we don't believe in God. That's really what you can boil it down to. And it's, you know, if I didn't enjoy talking to him so much, it would be incredibly frustrating for me to have a conversation like this, because it's almost impossible to get someone to engage when they're thinking like this. And you'll notice I'll bring up points. There's no counter arguments given other than just, well, how can you make that point? Or how could we know? We can't know anything. I think this is most notable in one of my favorite points that I like to bring up with atheists, which is life. A lot of what fuels atheist beliefs, in my opinion, is this idea of not just scientism, but very specifically this idea that everything can be explained by natural causes. And what really fuels that is, if we're being honest, it's evolution. Which, even though scientifically you can't exclude God's providence or interference in the process of evolution, there's just no way to test that or exclude it. To them, the scientific evidence is absolutely dogmatically 100% conclusive that it happened completely naturally, and that no intention was required for any of it. And getting under that, I think, is really important, because imagine a world where we just knew evolution is false. Like, how would atheists justify their beliefs? That would be a complete game changer. But the real thing that I want to point out is that it wouldn't be too difficult to do, because if you notice, when I started pressing him on how he accounts for information, a language, a code-like information in the genome, he just denies it exists. And this isn't just my opinion that it exists, that DNA is like a code or a language. This is mainstream in the scientific community. They know that they're dealing with information the kind of information that's similar to what we write down in words or how we speak. And to them, it really doesn't matter because evolution just must be true. But for the layman who believes the theory, they don't know that scientists have generally accepted that this is true. So to them, they just have this simplified view of life, like, oh, DNA is simple, cells are simple, life is simple, making changes to it is dead simple. So of course they believe in the theory. If they actually had to confront the fact that the cells are extremely complex, that there's machinery and complex specified information that's like a language inside of there, this would cast a huge shadow of doubt. I think most people would just understand intuitively, like, wait, that's what they expect me to believe when they tell me this theory? Like, I could imagine a lizard becoming a bird in my head. Like, that's easy to imagine if I just kind of paper over a lot of the details. But to think about it in that way, that nature had to create essentially a language, or at least complex specified information, which nature never does, which we know only comes from minds. If they were forced to confront that, I think that that basically the theory would be dead in the water for most people. I think the scientific community would still hold it at large because essentially it's a framework. It's how they interpret the evidence. It has nothing to do with the evidence. It's their way of interpreting the evidence. And so mainstream acceptance would probably continue on, but I think they would have a really hard time selling it to the public. And that, to me, like I said, is mostly interesting because I think it's a huge wedge that you could get under people or use to get under people's beliefs, because without being able to explain life, that's like such a, how would I put it? It's like a huge fortress for their beliefs, basically. Like the fact that they can hold that over people's heads and is like, hey, we can explain one of the most unlikely, difficult things to explain just by natural effects. If they don't have that anymore, that's going to be a huge issue for them. But those are just kind of the lessons I wanted to pull out of there. So take it easy. We'll see you in the next one.